If there's one thing I love doing in my business, it's repurposing. And over the past 3 years, I've made it my goal to work smart and not hard. Now, that doesn't mean I always succeed, but I really, really try to stay honed in. And once you hone your niche, message, and brand voice, this does become easier. Because over time, you find you've created enough content to repurpose, so you just need to be smart about how. We are wrapping up our 30-day Simply Stories challenge, and I, for one, have learned some things I want to pass on to you. Now, maybe you didn't do all 30 days, or maybe you're just now finding out about the challenge, but if you're using stories at all and not repurposing, you're missing out, which is why I want to mention our Stories to Market workshop happening Tuesday, November 1st at noon Eastern Standard Time. The link is in the show notes, so you can check it out. But inside this workshop, I'm going to teach you how to repurpose your stories into 5 different pieces of content. How to assemble a reel from stories in under 5 minutes. And I'll give you a sustainable, ongoing posting strategy to keep you consistent without going crazy. As you may know, I started the story challenge as a means of downscaling from the Reels rat race, otherwise known as the RRR. And boy, has it delivered. But I also know there is merit to posting reels, graphics, and carousels. But I didn't want to return to the RRR, so I developed a framework that is going to help keep us on track and still post stories, just not 30 days in a row. So if you too are tired of the RRR, come join me for the Stories to Market workshop. I'll be expounding on the ideas I share here in this podcast today. Plus, you'll get a pretty sweet bonus right away just for joining. So, without further ado, let's find out how to simply repurpose 30 days of stories, shall we? And now, listen in.
Welcome to Authentic Online Marketing with Ruthie Gray. Growing awareness for your blog, podcast, book, or product involves more than dancing to reels and yelling, "Buy my thing." This show models quality over glamour so you can put your spin on your message and market in a way that feels authentic to you, because nobody wants to sound like an infomercial. And now, here's your host, Ruthie Gray.
I have 7 tips for you today, but before I start on them, I want to preface with this. One often overlooked repurposing tip is to repeat yourself. We think we need to come up with new content when in fact, not everyone sees all of our content. Even people who watched your stories for the last 30 days, I guarantee they missed some. Or they got distracted, or they didn't have the sound on, or they forgot, or they even forgot what you said. Our society is on information overload. You can say the same thing more than once, and you should. What you don't want to do is say the same thing the same way each time. This is what's so great about repurposing stories. Stories are kind of like the test drive. You can expound on it later. Not everyone sees your stories. Or if the people who did see them really liked them and responded, then you know to use that. And you can break down these stories into several different pieces of content to last for the rest of 2022 and beyond. Okay, now that we've overcome that hurdle, the one that says you have to continually crank out new content, let me break down how to do this effectively. Number 1, go to your archives and view your stories. There they all are. Stories disappear after 24 hours, but guess what? They're saved in archives. Oh boy, do you have tons of content now? Now we're cooking. Number 2, study your analytics. You can do this by going to your profile, clicking the 3 horizontal lines at the top right, Insights, and change the days to view last 30 days and hit update. Again, let me say that one more time. You go to your profile where you see your picture and your bio and your content. You click the 3 horizontal lines at the top right, and then you tap Insights because there's a menu there. Then in Insights, change the days. They're at a default 7 days right now. Change that to view last 30 days and hit update. Your stories are shown to your audience for 24 hours, and after that, they appear here so you can view Insights. It even says that at the top. You'll be able to see which stories got the most views, and that's a clue to do more of the same kind. Remember, stories are about cultivating community with your audience. You can tap into an archived story and discover important data like profile activity, engagement, shares, replies, and how many non-followers viewed your story. What did people respond to? Polls, graphics, quotes? What kind of questions did you ask? What evoked response? This is the content you want to repurpose. Number 3, repurpose into Reels. Of course, this is the obvious choice because you've got 30 days of video. Click the Reels icon at the bottom of your archived story and bam, all the content from that 24-hour story is there. You can delete frames, shorten video, and even add to it. 30 days of 3 stories per day equals 90 frames of stories, or more if you did more. Number 4, repurpose into graphics. You didn't like how that story looked as a reel or even as video? Create an infographic or a quote of that content and share it in your feed. Use the text you added or even expound on that text. Number 5, repurpose into captions. Select a photo, just one that you have in somewhere, your phone or on your desktop, and use your story text as caption fodder. Instagram loves it when our captions are keyword rich, so make sure to add keywords from your bio and overall message in your captions. And here's a tip. The longer your caption, the longer someone stays on your posts to read it. And the algorithm reads that as engagement and will push that post out to more people. Number 6, repurpose into a carousel. A carousel is simply a collection of 2 to 10 graphics or video in one post. You can do video, graphics, photos, or mix and match. Use a combination of points 4 and 5 above that I just shared to make this an effective post people respond to. Another engagement tip, when people scroll through your carousel, this also signals the algorithm that they are spending time there. Number 7, repurpose to other social media platforms. YouTube Shorts are extremely popular if you have a channel or are working on one. Pinterest idea pins and stories are also working well these days to drive traffic. Of course, Facebook now offers Reels, and TikTok is basically dominating on the social media video front. These are just a few ways to repurpose your story content, and it's certainly not exhaustive. Using what worked is the most effective way to repurpose content. To wrap up, first head to archives and view the data, taking notes of what you want to repurpose. Also, go over to analytics for backup on that. Then break your stories into reels, graphics, captions, and carousels. And then consider how to share to other platforms using short form video. By now, you should have plenty of ongoing content, plus ideas for even more. We learn by doing, and whether you did a week or a whole month of stories, you've undoubtedly learned what to do more of, less of, who's responding to what content, and maybe even learned in a few areas that you can improve on. Thanks so much for joining me for the 30-day Simply Stories Challenge and for joining me for the podcast. Until next week, be sure and sign up for the Stories to Market workshop happening Tuesday, November the 1st at noon Eastern Standard Time. And remember to share your unique message your way in your own authentic voice in stories and beyond.